Always Auburn with your host, Tyler Crane.
All right, we back at you. Pre-game, always Auburn going into the South Alabama game. It's Friday, September the 12th, and there's a lot of excitement floating around college football right now. Big weekend ahead. Auburn's kind of at the lighter side of the big weekend, but don't get it twisted. This is no game to look over. So we're going to preview the game a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about what to expect and what we hope's going to happen getting through this game and kind of getting through the pre-trials before we get into the real trials of the season. So first off, let's start with a little bit of our opponent. And I'd like to initially correct myself. I don't know if anybody caught it, any of the viewers, but I said something that was wrong, and I was wrong in my last edition in our midweek discussion, talking about the South Alabama coaching staff. And I'm the type of person, if I'm wrong, I'm going to admit when I'm wrong, and we're going to bring it up because I want to give you good content and that's credible and shows that I know my stuff when it comes to these Auburn Tigers, and not just all Auburn Tigers, but the college football world in general. So I was wrong about Bobby Petrino being the offensive coordinator at South Alabama. I had mentioned that I had concerns about their offensive capability because Bobby Petrino led their offense. That's what as the offense coordinator, that's what I mentioned. But I was wrong, completely wrong. He still coaches at Arkansas apparently. And the confusion came in because his brother, Paul Petrino, younger brother Paul, little brother Paul, is actually their offensive coordinator up under their head coach, Major Applewhite, who a lot of y'all who are familiar with the SEC also know who Major Applewhite is. But nevertheless, I'm correcting myself. So I apologize for not being completely accurate about what to expect going into the South Alabama game because of my confusion with the Petrino brothers. So, nevertheless, Paul Petrino is the offensive coordinator at South Alabama, not Bobby Petrino. So, they also, when I was looking at their staff, they also have some more interesting names. If y'all can remember Trey Williams, who played linebacker at Auburn, he's on their staff as well as assistant defensive coordinator coach, coaching linebackers. So big shouts to Trey Williams. I think Trey actually is from Mobile. So he's back at home coaching college football and in the city that he's from, the state and the city that he's from. So big shout out to Trey Williams. Had a good career at Auburn. Was always fun to watch at that linebacker position. One of those linebackers that really brought the funk, played hard, hit hard. Reminds me a lot of Travis Williams. Reminded me a lot of Carlos Dansby. Reminded me of those Trey Blackman. Reminded me of those type of players. And Antarius Williams that played at Auburn, played the linebacker position, that would hit you, would get and would stayed low and really understood how to position themselves to make big plays on defense. So big shout out to Trey Williams. I hope he's having great success down there in Mobile at South Alabama. So let's focus a little bit on the South Alabama Jaguars. I think their strengths are definitely on the offensive side of the ball. If you look at their first two games, they played Morgan State their first game, and they scored, not sure what they scored. They scored a lot of points, but they gave up 21 points to Morgan State, which is not a very good school. Don't know too much about the Morgan State Bears, but but I just can imagine that they're your bottom of the level. Would they beat Ball State, who we played last week? You know, that'd be an interesting matchup. That's kind of up for debate there. I wouldn't lean either way, to tell you the truth. Definitely probably wouldn't lean towards Ball State. I'd be looking for every reason to take Morgan State if, hypothetically speaking, that was a matchup. But it's not. So last week, South Alabama had an interesting matchup. They stepped up in their level of competition and played the Tulane Green Wave, who is a good program. Good. I mean, they're a historic football program. They used to be in the SEC back in its very early days, back when Auburn wasn't far from being API, which I know y'all true ones know what I'm talking about when I say API. I'm not going to even go any further. But Tulane has always been kind of one of those programs that they're just a scrappy. They almost remind me of like a Georgia Tech, of a Arkansas, not SMU, but after the Pony Express days. We all know their glory days when they had Dickerson and all those boys, and they were, doing NIL long before NIL was ever thought of. So, but Tulane just always reminded me, especially here of late, up under Willie Fritz, of just a scrappy football team, a team that has good players. And so South Alabama, I think they came away from that game losing by 3. I don't know the final score, but it was a close game, and I know they fought back in the game. A lot of points were scored. I want to say the score might have been 33-31. Could be wrong, but I think it was something like that. So 2-point victory. And just a scrappy game. South Alabama was down. They ended up coming back. I believe the strengths, based on the scores and the coaching staff of South Alabama's football team, is that they're explosive on offense. I believe they can give you everything that you want, to tell you the truth, out of one of these group of 5 schools. Not your Power 4, but your group of 5 schools. I believe they can compete with anybody in that division, and probably just about beat everybody. I mean, I think we'd all agree that Tulane is probably one of the higher tier schools amongst that group of 5. And hey, South Alabama Jaguars took them to the ball last week, and dang near came back and pulled off a victory. So that's nothing to take light. Auburn, Coach Freeze, DJ Durkin, the football team. That's nothing to take, and the fans. That's nothing to take light that South Alabama played neck and neck with Tulane last week. That's a quality performance, to be able to go out there and put that type of film out there and almost knock off the Green Wave. So I believe their strength is offense. I think their weaknesses are probably in defense. They gave up 21 to Morgan State and 33 last week. 56 points, and or a little bit under. My math's bad, but that's 50-something points. 54 points in the first 2 weeks. So I don't know how good their defense really is, which that could turn out to be a big playing picture, and how tomorrow morning turns out for the Auburn, and going into the tomorrow afternoon, how that game turns out with their defense being their weak spot, because weak defenses probably aren't going to match up well against what we want to do on offense, which is be explosive, high-powered, throw the ball all over the field, and score touchdowns. So look for offense to have a big day. If Auburn can if it's a good game for Auburn and we win convincingly, then look for the offense to score a lot of points. Look for it to be a 40-something to 3, 40-something to 10. But if we can't score points and we run the field goal team out there, and God knows we are having issues. That's a topic for another day. That's a sensitive topic, to tell you the truth. I really don't want to even talk about that because it makes my mind just start spinning, and to think that we have a field goal kicker that we have one field goal kicker designated for field goals that are 25 yards and up, and then we have another field goal kicker who hasn't kicked any at Auburn, or maybe once, or I'm not sure, the transfer from Southern Miss. He's our 25 and further field goal kicker, designated 25-yard and further field goal kicker. So, I mean, that just even talking like that is just like, what? Like, I've been watching football all my life, 33 years of it. You think you've seen it all until you haven't. And I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen designated yardage, designated distance field goal kickers and how you rotate them. And Towns Magoo hurting himself by kicking the ground, and we're going to get off the field goal kicking. I hope it doesn't haunt us this week. I really hope it doesn't haunt us this week, and I hope it doesn't haunt us all season. We'll save that for a midweek discussion video, but until it actually does haunt us, I really don't even want to put that type of energy in the atmosphere, to tell you the truth. So we're just going to leave it at that. So I'm kind of up in the air, to tell you the truth. I really don't know how. There's so many variables to consider with this game. This game is very interesting from a speculation standpoint, just because of the time that it's played, who we play next week. We're ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2021. We don't have field goal confidence. There's just so much boiling that, I mean, there's a story behind each one of these points that can lead you this way or this way. The whole narrative with South Alabama and their players not being appreciated, and coming into Jordan-Hare with a lot of familiarity for Auburn football program. And I was listening to another podcast earlier this morning, the Up Tempo podcast, and I enjoy watching that. Shout out to Dustin. And he talked about how you really don't see too much of Alabama or Auburn playing teams like Troy, UAB, and South Alabama. These in-state, just scrappy schools. Jacksonville State. I wouldn't go so far to say Alabama State and Alabama A&M and Tuskegee, just because, in Samford, just because of their divisional difference. But these Sun Belt schools and Conference USA, I think that's what UAB is in, that are in the state of Alabama, I mean, they pose a threat to us and the Crimson Tide whenever that occurs, that they play each other. I can't recall, but there's just so much familiarity with the teams and the players and the coaches and the layout and the culture, and it's just, I highly doubt I haven't looked at the roster, but I highly doubt the majority of South Alabama's roster really believes that these Auburn football players are that much better than them, especially the ones who they played against in high school and are around the surrounding areas and they're familiar with their school and they know people who went here and there's just so much familiarity there that it's just like I just don't see the intimidation factor being big of a as big of an advantage as it would be if we were playing Ball State or someone along the lines of that. So I'm excited. I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I'm not going to say I'm concerned. I really haven't been concerned as far as like not knowing and worried that we're going to lose. I wasn't even really concerned in the Baylor game. Now I'm concerned about coaching style and sustainability through Coach Hugh Freeze's coaching style. I am concerned about that, but that doesn't play into my concern this week against South Alabama. But I'm really not concerned. I'm really excited. I'm excited. I think this is a good chance for Auburn to show, hey, we're mature because we're not looking over South Alabama. I think this is a good chance for Auburn to show that they're deserving of being back in the top 25. And I think it's a good chance for Auburn to show that they're confident that next week when we do go to Norman 3-0, that we got a good shot to knock off what might be, depending on what happens with Georgia and Tennessee tomorrow, who might be the best team in our conference. Because I don't think Texas is the best team in the SEC. I'm not an Arch Manning believer. He's going to have to show me a little something different. But I think Oklahoma and John Mateer are making making it known that they're going to be a force. The way they knocked off Michigan last week, Michigan's no slouch. I don't believe that one bit. So I just excited about tomorrow's game. I'm gonna give you a little prediction. On my hopeful end, I think we're gonna score. I do think we're gonna score because I don't think South Alabama's defense is all that great. Do I think they're gonna score? Yeah. Major Applewhite, offense quarterback, ex-quarterback coach in the SEC, good players around them. I think they'll score. Do I want them to score? No, but I do think they score. So I'm gonna give us a 31 to 14. Auburn pulls away in the second half. I think the first half is going to be, especially the first quarter. I think the first quarter it's a chance to prove me wrong, and I want to be proved wrong by this. I hate seeing Auburn teams come into these early morning games and not be prepared. But the track record shows, and you're going to have to show me to change my opinion. But I don't think Auburn gets off to a fast start. I actually think South Alabama might draw first blood. Might go up 7-0 in the first half, and it takes us a little while to get in our heads to say, hey, we got to play ball today. Now, eventually, I think our skill set and our drive and our leadership on the team starts to weigh heavy on our performance, and I think that things start to change probably towards the end of the second quarter and then lead into the rest of the game. I think we come out after halftime with a purpose and okay, let's go out here for these next two quarters and put it behind us and get ready for next week. So 31-14, I'm seeing 17 to 7 going into the half. Auburn, we come out, score 2 more touchdowns in the second half. And South Alabama might get get a gimmick touchdown at the end of the game. That's where their 14 comes into play. So that's my prediction, 31-14. I like it. And I'll take it. It's not fancy. It's not anything that's going to blow you away. It's nothing that's going to make anybody believe that Auburn deserves a higher ranking than this number 24, that Auburn's fixing to go to Norman and knock off the Sooners next week. It's nothing, but it is another check mark in that win column, and it's another week through, and I hope we focus on the little things. I hope we run the ball. I hope offensive line play gets better. I hope they communicate. Defense, I hope to see a lot of what I've been seeing. A lot of action, a lot of flying around the field, and not any injuries, because we are fixing to step. Like I said, this is pre-trial. We fixing to step into trial next week, and that trial is going to be tough. And we need all arms, all troops, all forces available if we're gonna make a statement that Auburn University, that the Auburn Tigers are back. So you heard it here first. Always Auburn, 31-13. So war down Eagle in this bitch.